Hey y'all, good morning. At least it's morning for me. I don't usually film quite this early. It wasn't very long ago that I woke up in my bed. I decided to keep my pajamas on because I don't think that I've worn this Print Fresh print on camera yet. I can't. Just look, the little tigers. Meow. As always, I will link them down below. I'm a huge fan. I'm going to be getting ready with you today, and I'm going to be reviewing as I go these two products, both of which were recommendations from some of you. I get a lot of recommendations in the comments, a lot of things that you guys think I'll like. These two really spoke to me, and I was like, I'm going to get them and I'm going to review them. So the Refy Brow Gel, we're mixing high and low in this video. We've got a Sephora product and a drugstore product. So the Refy Brow Gel is supposed to be the firmest hold for the brows. I think it's new in Sephora. And then the Wet n Wild Glass Color Corrector is an illuminating and green color correcting base product. And you know, that's my jam as well. So I have been testing these for quite a while. I have full reviews for them. It's not a first impression. And also this just came in the mail. So I'm gonna be able to apply this on camera too. It's the newest palette from Alter Ego. And then, you know, the rest of my face will just do whatever we feel like doing. This palette's called Shadow Kiss. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah. I love beautiful things. I like to review new things, but I like to balance that out by also using what I have. I don't like to model just like a constant flow of consumption where you're always using brand new stuff. So in addition to reviewing these new products, I'm going to be using a bunch of products that I've owned for a really long time, and I'll talk to you about them too. If content like that, makeup content that is balanced in its view of consumerism, sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. First things first, one of the things I'm reviewing is the first to go on the face. I'm wearing a serum and a sunscreen, and that's it. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this on. So I like that it's got some body. It's not a jelly product, it's not a watery product or serum-y product. And in that way, it feels like it's adding a little bit of moisture, but it definitely has that slippy, slidey, slightly melty quality of many primers, as opposed to the kind of beefy formula that you feel in many actual moisturizers. So once it's going on, it feels more. Oh, I should have just put it on one side, I'm sorry. I'll continue on this side so you can see the difference. Once you start putting it on, it really melts and sort of becomes slippy. And as you can see, it shears out quite a bit. So I do feel like, partly because of the green and partly because of the illuminating quality of it, the luminosity, there has been some color correcting. Some color correcting has occurred. I mean, especially if you look, I'm sorry, I put this little bit of it right here, but if you look at the skin around that compared to the skin right here, it definitely looks brightened and a little bit less red on this side. And even if you look here at my blemishes, I mean, I haven't really gotten any coverage or anything, but you can see that just the way that the light's reflecting from it and the fact that it's reflecting with a little bit, like my skin clear doesn't look green, but we know that there's some green pigment in it, has helped to tone those spots down. I'll put some more all over my chin so maybe you can kind of see the transformation. I do think that my chin looks less red than it did moments ago, right? It definitely helped. But it didn't neutralize the redness, like kill it completely, the way that a green color corrector does. So I'll go ahead and finish, I mean like a highly pigmented kind of makeup artist tool. Texture though is fantastic. It's a really, really nice primer. The only thing that I feeling like how lovely it is to apply, I was like, whoa, really impressed. I really, really like it as a primer. And I like the luminosity as well. It's a very small, actually it says 0.9 fluid ounces. It feels very small, but maybe that's a little bit deceptive. It's almost a full ounce. So never mind. I actually think that that's really nice. That's like a good alternative to something like Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Elevated Glow, or something like that. It feels a little bit slidey on my fingers, but it's sheared out to be just like super pearly. It's got some of that green pigment, but it doesn't have other pigment. It doesn't have like tan pigment in it or even white pigment or anything. And I like that because I'm tired of illuminators darkening my skin basically. If anything, it's doing the opposite. It's doing a little brightening and a little bit of evening of my skin tone. But it hasn't totally neutralized the redness. It's only started that process. So this is the Sephora Bright Future Green Color Corrector, which I fear might have actually finally been discontinued. If it has indeed been discontinued, I'll do kind of like a search for the next greatest green color corrector. I'll do a video about it. But for now, I'm just using up the tube that I have. So I'm going to just color correct on this side of my face so you can see the difference. So it goes on looking pretty green, right? Like when I was rubbing it and when I was applying it was looking pretty green. There even still is a little bit, I went kind of ham with it. There's a bit of a green tinge on my face, right? You can see that. But when I sit back and you just kind of assess what's going on my face, the side with the green, it really looks neutral. And the side that I didn't color correct still looks more red, even though the priming product did help. So by adding the green color corrector, I've given myself a much more neutral base from which to start. And what that means for me is that I will not have to apply as much product on top of it. So for me, this product, the Wet n Wild Glass Correct, isn't going to fully replace the use of green color corrector, but I do like it as a stand-in for the illuminating primers that I use or the priming illuminators that I use. And actually, I like it way better than the Maybelline 4-in-1 Perfector that I reviewed last week, because I feel like it performs as well in terms of consistency and it gives me the same level of glow as that product, but it doesn't darken my skin, which, you know, using that one, it made my skin darker, and then that required, because it doesn't have a light enough shade for me, that required me to use more product to lighten it up. I feel like this, you know, brightens it, starts the process of evening the redness, and doesn't put like pigment on my face that's darker than my neck. So for me, it's like better than that product and maybe even better than some of my other illuminators. I really, really like it. And I'm grateful to the subscriber who told me about it. I'm gonna go ahead now with my old standbys, my concealer that I always use, the Makeup Forever, the BB cream that I've been using nonstop, which is this one from Purito. I'm gonna mix them together, but mostly with the concealer because I'm trying to put a really thin layer on today, and the concealer is a very, very liquidy skin-like product. And then I'm gonna spot conceal with my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Chantilly. These are the products that I pretty much always use. I'm really pleased with the glow that I'm getting from the Wet n Wild product. It's definitely coming through, and I had to powder down some in the middle of my face just to keep it from being so shiny that it was almost greasy. But yeah, the finish is beautiful. I have been enjoying using it, and this time applying it on camera and really talking through like the difference between it and some of my other illuminators and the consistency and the way that it looks before and then after green color corrector, talking it through, I'm realizing that I actually really like it. When I first started using it, I was like, wonk wonk, because I was expecting it to be more green and to basically do the job of an illuminator and a green color corrector. So I thought that I was going to be giving it like a little bit of a lukewarm review, but when I'm articulating, talking through putting it on and talking about its qualities, I realized that even though it's not giving me that green coverage, it is way better in terms of its undertone than a lot of my favorite illuminators. So, you know, it's actually pretty impressive. I'm gonna keep using it. I might actually reach for it more than I thought after this review. Speaking of things that have impressed me, let's go ahead with the Refy Brow Gel. So here is what the wand looks like. The product is white, but it dries clear unless I put way too much in. I'm just gonna put it into my brow hairs by back combing them. So basically coating every hair. And now I'm going to put them in place, but I haven't dipped the wand back in because I don't want to get too much product gooped into my brows. And what I've learned about this is that if I keep messing with them too long after it's dried, then it can start to pill. So I'm trying to work fast. I'm going to use this other little brush and I'll show it to you when I'm done. I'm using it to laminate pretty much the brows. those are the little brush tools. I was using the one with these wider sort of softer bristles. This comb underneath, I don't understand how it's supposed to work because it's curved like that. And my forehead isn't really curved like that. Like I don't know. I can never quite get it to really make contact with my skin. I just haven't really figured out how it's supposed to work yet. These other tools are on a cap that is on the back of the brush. So, or the wand, right? So if you unscrew it, the wand comes out. And if you screw it back in and then you just pull it straight off, then it pulls the cap off of these two other little brush tools. It took me an embarrassingly long time to figure that out. So this is the structured and laminated brow that I have gotten with that product. And I will tell you from over a week of experience, this will stay all day. The hold is actually better than soap because soap, it can, when it warms up, it's so hot right now here. If it gets really warm and really humid, soap can lose its hold a little bit. With soap, the great thing about it is that when that happens, you can easily brush them back into shape, like re-sculpture them. So I still love soap and I will continue to use it. I think it will probably in the long run continue to be my primary tool for sculpting my brows. But this is easier to use than soap. I mean, it's easier to use like in the moment. It's less fussy. It takes up less space. And again, like the hold is really, really good. It's the most impressive brow gel that I've ever used. And I feel like I always like the shape that I get too. The real downside for this in terms of ease of use is the pilling and the buildup issue. So because it's such a strong hold, once it starts to set, it's really becoming solid. If you mess with it too much at the wrong time, like if you go in with a pencil and start penciling in color, it will take color on top of it. But if you've put too much of the product in and then you mess with it too much with a pencil, the pencil can start to cause this clear product to like pick up and pill. If you keep layering it and messing with your brows so long that it starts to dry and then you're adding more product on top, it will start to build up on itself and pill. It's not as though there is never an issue and you can't mess it up. It's not a product that you can't mess up, right? You just have to be a little bit careful. You have to just put in the one layer and then you have to work pretty quickly and then just kind of leave it. I could go in on top of these brows as they are, they're pretty much set, and apply a product with pigment. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah, like here's an e.l.f. brow pencil that I have lying around, the Ultra Precise Brow Pencil. This is one of those like hard, I haven't tried this actually with the Refy one, so we'll see how it works. This is one of those kind of like hard pencils. So I'm being careful not to comb it through too much with the spoolie on this e.l.f. thing. If I went in and I was like really going at it, combing it, it might start to get those little pills in it. But this product, the brow with this product in it, it takes a pencil much more easily than soap does, because soap does kind of tends to resist the pencil tip or it'll build up on it. You know what I mean? The glycerin will kind of like build up on the tip. It's harder to go in and add color to a soaped brow than it is to add color to a brow with this kind of like firm hold gel product in it. The huge downside, the absolutely enormous downside, is the cost. Brow products are the kinds of things that you go through and then have to repurchase. It's not the same as buying an eyeshadow palette. When you buy an eyeshadow palette, it's like the only one you have to buy for like 2 years, even if it's the only one you use, So those of us who already have a lot of eyeshadow, when we buy an eyeshadow palette, we're buying it as a treat, as a pleasure on top of everything else. And those of us who only have 1 or maybe 2 eyeshadow palettes, you're buying it. It's like a very, very long-term investment. But something like a brow product that you're using just to maintain like the baseline of shaping, or, like a concealer, the baseline of coverage every single day, you're using it up in sometimes a couple of months, and having to purchase it again. So this product, which I think is around $25, if you had to purchase it 4 times a year, 6 times a year, that's $100. That's $150 that you're spending. That's more than most eyeshadow palettes, which last 2 or 4 years. So even though it feels like it's less expensive, a short-term staple like this that you're using up and buying again, using up and buying it again, when it's a luxury product or a high-end product like this, it can really, really add up. And that's the kind of thing that makes me think twice about falling in love with a product like this. So I have this beautiful bar of soap from Ortigia Sicilia. This is the glycerin soap that I use for soap brows. It costs $10 and it's gonna last forever, right? Like this bar, I've been whittling away at it for months and months. And it's, you know, I've made a dent, but barely a dent. I probably haven't even used up like 1/10 of it. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to go through the Refy Brow Gel, but it's definitely gonna be a fraction of the length of time that it would have taken me if I had just used the soap straight through. And a tube of this costs 2.5 times as much as the tube of this. So say this soap lasted me 2 years for $10, and say I had to buy this like, let's say I had to buy it 4 times a year, which I think is probably a little bit generous. Who knows, depends on how much you do your brows and how much product you use. But say I had to buy it 4 times a year. That's $200 to keep myself in brow gel for 2 years versus the $10 that it would cost to keep myself in soap for 2 years. So depending on one's budget and feelings about brows, it's like, is it worth it? Is it worth paying $190 extra for the ease of use of a product like this? And maybe it is. It depends on what you value and it depends on how much money you have. For me, we'll see. When I use this up, we'll see how much I miss it. For now, I'm feeling very excited and grateful to have it because I've been really, really happy with my brows over the past week using this, and I find it very easy and pleasurable to use, and that makes a difference to me. Okay, so those are the 2 products that I'm here to apply and review, but let's keep going. I'm gonna do a quick eye look with this palette from Alter Ego. I really like the quality of the Alter Ego shadows, and I am gonna probably just do like a 1 or 2. Ooh, I'm gonna try not to get carried away. The only primer I have over here is the e.l.f. Putty Primer. I'm very tempted to use this shade called Shroud. Ooh, yes. These are the 2 colors I wanna use. I'm gonna put Shroud all over my lids, and then I'm probably gonna darken up the corners a tiny bit with Umbra. Wow, I love this color. I have so much eyeshadow right now that even though palettes, like the palettes that Alter Ego releases are really beautiful and the quality is really good, I've mostly been giving them away because I have so much. And you know, those beautiful neutral palettes are lovely to have, but in many cases, it's not something that I need to make the looks that I enjoy. But this feels very different to me. Like I feel like I don't, for example, this kind of slightly murky, brownish, greenish version of a smoking color, like a version of a color that I'd use to smoke on my outer corner. I can't think of one like that I have. And so that's exciting. I might actually end up keeping this one instead of giving it away. I really like this, and I feel like I haven't had a look like this on my eyes in a long time, like something that has that slightly smoky, taupey, purpley tone, but still really quite wearable for the day. I'm excited about this palette. So that's a look with mascara on. I want to wear Glossier Puff today, so I'm going to put that on my cheeks. I talked about this recently in an overhead shot video. I'll try to remember to link that. I am really pleasantly surprised by how much softer of a pink it is than I expected. I always thought that it was a real Barbie pink, but it's got this sort of milkiness to it that makes it easier to wear. Although now I wish I'd gone with something more neutral because the purple in the eye is really bringing out the pink in the blush, and the pink in the blush is really bringing out the purple in the eye. And I like it when a purple eye leans more taupey and more neutral, and I feel like this pink blush is making it lean more purple. I'm gonna go over it a little bit with some of the Kevyn Aucoin Neo highlighter, like the bronzy side. I actually like that. It's like darkened it, and it's also toned down the pink, and it's kind of set it, you know what I mean? It's like set that cream blush, although Glossier Cloud Paint does dry down beautifully, but still, it's made it much more budge proof and a little bit more luminous in a way. What do I want to wear on my lips today? What did I bring over here? All right, I'm just gonna put on this clear gloss with gold glitter. It's the shade Magic from Tower 28. If you have been curious about the Wet n Wild Glass Correct or the Refy Brow Gel, I hope that I was thorough enough for you. I hope that I was able to give you the information that you've been seeking. Both of them have worked really well for me. I really, really like both of these products and will definitely continue to use them, but both of them come with caveats. Again, I feel like this is not as green as one might hope. If you are hoping to color correct in the way that I do, this isn't going to be a one and done product for you. I actually think of this more as just a really lovely illuminating and slightly neutralizing primer and not really a green color corrector. But as that, it's great. And then the Refy Brow Gel, it's like the top of the top in terms of stuff like this that I've ever tried, but it can be a little bit fussy. You can get some of that buildup. There's a little bit of a learning curve. I would say that. There's just a little bit of a learning curve. It's not something that you can't mess up, but if you're comfortable with working with a slightly fussy product, the results to me are really worth it. And then the outstanding question is about cost per use. I am going to make an effort to incorporate some more like review revisions videos here on my channel. So I'll come back in a couple of months and I'll talk about all of the things that I've reviewed or tested recently and let you know whether or not my feelings have changed. So keep an eye out for those videos, because in one of those videos sometime in the next couple of months, I'll give my final verdict on both of these products. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that this was a fun one to watch, and I really hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.